So I first want to thank everyone within the ESA contemporary art community, especially Mr. Very and Mr. Novak, for providing this amazing opportunity to speak with all of you who came out to support young Torontonian artists. Today I will be speaking about the gray borders of self-expression and its historical significance within my life. Gender identity within the Black community is still an evolving topic, and I feel that there is still much to learn. That is why I welcome any input that may enrich this subject. Throughout my existence, I feel as if I have two perspectives within me. I consider myself a part of both these worlds equally, but with my background, I face many challenges because expressing myself freely within the Black community could put me in a dangerous situation. I explore this theme, but it may be hard for privileged people to understand this judgment, the judgment that a person of color faces throughout the day, even to the point of which people within their own community face racial judgments amongst each other. For example, today I was writing this lecture and my friend called me saying that he did not have the keys to his apartment and was trying to gain access to his home. So a person saw him outside of the door and assumed he was a home invader. So they called the cops on him, and they later came to yell at him and saying that he should leave. He was so frustrated that he began to cry, to which a policeman said to him, "Oh, so now you're gonna cry like a little B word." He began to raise his voice, but I was constantly telling him to stay calm and ask for their badge number. And that was 11 hours ago. So I have faced many obstacles because of my identity, and I want to speak with you tonight of how I overcame them and how I will use my voice within the art community to change the structure in which the world views expression. Growing up as a biracial child has been both a challenging and uplifting experience. I have always been puzzled by the way in which I approach societal norms, specifically if I should interact with a certain situation as a white or Black boy, as you can see up on the display. And this made me aware of the racial stereotypes that we follow as a society and their role in molding our character. When I would speak in an articulate manner, I was perceived as an assimilated person of color and thuggish person when I decided to openly reference my Caribbean background. This lack of understanding of my place in society made me obsess over the gray area of my racial identity. As a kid, I would organize the aspects of my being into categorized mind maps, all deciding as to whether or not I was Black or white, similar to this simple graph. So it may be funny to see something that's so complex calculated into quadrants, but it's the most logical perception of myself that I have discovered. I concluded with my initial belief that I'm somewhere in between. This self-perception differed from my perception of my identifiable groups. This self-perception differed from the perception of my identifiable groups, being my Swiss and my Jamaican background. To my Black peers, I was considered white, and to my white peers, I was considered Black. The beginning of grade 10 marked the first year I was most comfortable with my identity as a person of color, and began to explore my androgyny. This was then shortly lived when I was taking a bus home when two boys of color began to yell homophobic slurs at me based on my feminine appearance. I struggled with the thought of not being accepted by my Black community and whether or not my resistance towards masculine ideals was a sign of weakness. Before I judged the boys for their actions, I wanted to research the historical significance of their behavior and the timeline of homophobia within my Caribbean community. What I came to discover is that this hatred towards the LGBT community within the Black culture has stemmed from a mistranslated intergenerational traumatic event. Slavers would sexually assault the father of a Black family to assert dominance and ownership of another being. So the concept of being gay slowly morphed into what was perceived as mimicking the behaviors of their colonizers. It then became much more understanding as to why these two boys absolutely detested my appearance. This experience then completely changed my mental map by adding an entirely new dimension to the graph. I then began to question the perception of my masculine and feminine aspects of myself from either communities in the Black community. Self-expression is highly forbidden and can be punishable by death. Expressing the smallest materialistic forms of feminine traits, such as nail polish, could trigger an attack, yet within the white community, it is seen as the minimum cosmetic trait. I constantly fear for my safety, so I hide in what our society has labeled as masculine clothing. I constantly contemplate whether or not I am hypocritical for not truly visually representing the person that I am on the inside, or if I'm making a smart decision by taking into account the Black community's view of expressive people, or if androgyny is merely something that is contained within me that does not need to be approved by others. I still question what masculinity means to me and what I perceive as feminine traits within my personal life. The Oxford Dictionary definition for the word feminine says having qualities of an appearance traditionally associated with women, especially delicacy and prettiness, which I felt was a stereotype while also sexualizing women to only being perceived as feminine based on their prettiness. The Oxford Dictionary definition for masculine says having qualities or appearance traditionally associated with men. I could not relate with this quote because I feel as if to be masculine is to live within toxic limitations and to play a character that other people want me to live as. To be feminine in my mind is to express myself freely through my visual representation and supporting an accepting and loving community of women. I then was able to overcome this traumatizing experience by representing a topic through a variety of artistic mediums, which I will show you right now. So this was my first tapestry titled Self, and basically this was talking about how how androgyny is both a safety and danger to my well-being. This is a fake condom brand that I produced that instead of advocating for just solely men to use this product, it's for literally anyone who wants to use it. And these are my sculpture edition of 11 of porcelain boys. And this is some of my jewelry. And this little guy's right here. And then this is a felt tapestry of the Brooks slave ship model. So it would bring about 450 to 609 slaves from the West African coast to the Americas and the Caribbean. Each slave in the tapestry actually represents 3 people because they were stacked like books. And this is the model. So from this body of work, I have been given the opportunity to have a solo exhibition at Project Gallery Studio, a group show at Albert Knox, a lecture in University of Toronto for first-year Caribbean history students, 2 Scholastic Gold Medals, and acceptance to the Cooper Union. In the coming years, I will spread awareness on this issue by showcasing my works in galleries, publicly speaking, and organizing events to both educate and heal my community in hopes of a future where Black youth can be emotionally expressive.